From Mamma Mia, welcome to The Spill, your daily pop culture fix. I'm Em Burnham.
And I'm Laura Brodnick. I love how we're just excited by that fact.
We're back together.
And we are back together. Thank goodness, because we have a full docket today.
We do.
So Netflix has released their list of the most watched TV shows and movies for this year. Meghan Markle is getting absolutely raked over the coals for the performance of her show. People are laughing at her. People are saying terrible things.
She can't catch
There's
a break.
a little fact in there that she's actually had the last laugh. So we'll get into that. Plus, I love how you don't even know. Well, I don't know about your segment because you're going to tell me about some scandalous YouTube drama that's
we are going
bubbled up.
deep into the 2011 to 2014 Brit Crew YouTuber lore.
I am so excited
I've got
about
a
that.
lot
I'm
to
literally
say.
on the edge of my large velvet chair that I sit in.
I get to teach you something today.
I know, I'm so excited. But first, so this week, Emily and I were sitting together in the Mamma Mia office, putting together a presentation that we're doing soon. It's very professional of us.
Yes.
And as we finished, I said, Emily, I saved a photo this week that I thought we could do on the pod, but it's too silly. It's too lowbrow. We're not going to do it. But like, this is the photo. And I showed it to you and you said, we're doing that on the pod.
We're doing this on the pod because I've never experienced so many feelings in one go from looking at a photo in 0.2 seconds.
Yes. Okay. So the photo in question, it has been bubbling around the internet and social sites and everything for a couple of days, but we're going to...
We definitely didn't think we'd be doing this.
No.
Until a lot of big feelings happened.
Yes. So finger on the pulse, we're doing it now, but that's fine. Just go with us. So the photo in question that I held up my phone and showed Emily Burnham showed actors and directors and also real life married couple Dave Franco, the other Franco brother, and Alison Brie sitting together. And it's actually from the first glance at it before you realize what's happening, it's very romantic. They're sitting together on a blanket in the middle of a beautiful park. There's trees, there's grass, there's greenery. They're sitting close together. They're obviously madly in love. And what people have taken issue with is that Dave's leg is he's sitting behind Alison Brie and his leg is kind of snaking around her and his foot is propped up on her leg. And in the video, because there's video too.
Oh no.
In the video and the photos, she is just very casually, very lovingly clipping his toenails. And people, they are upset.
A lot of people forget that Alison Brie and Dave Franco are actually a huge power couple in Hollywood.
I never forget. I think about it every day.
They are both comedy geniuses.
Yes.
They've come from massive shows. Dave Franco obviously being James Franco's brother. He's been in a lot of comedy movies. Alison Brie's come from Community, which was a massive sitcom hit. They are so smart. And also they've done a lot of interviews together because they direct and star in a lot of TV shows and movies together. They work together as a couple. Yeah. And not only are they powerful and extremely good looking.
So good looking.
But they're also funny. They're also down to earth. They're also vibey. They're casual. They know so much about each other. They've been in each other's lives for a really, really long time and they have 2 cats and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And this was like the couple in Hollywood that I was like, this is a couple I vibe with. Like,
me too.
No ill feelings. They're just kind of doing their own thing. They're not like in these like crazy, like, they're never in the spotlight. They're always kind of on the side and that's where they want to be.
Yes.
And then I saw this photo.
Okay.
And it made me very upset.
Okay, why?
Firstly, they're a super rich, wealthy couple. They don't need to be sitting in a park. They could do that in their backyard.
Rich people need oxygen as well.
Yeah, they could do that in their like backyard, which I'm sure is like acres long.
Yeah, it actually is. I've seen a picture.
You don't clip your own toenails in a park, let alone the person you're with. And like, you're in a public space, you're on display for everyone. Firstly, you're on display because you're a A-list Hollywood couple, so everyone's looking at you anyway. And now you're infiltrating my space. Imagine me lying under a tree I'm reading The Great Gatsby right now. Reading The Great Gatsby under my tree.
Such an important detail.
Minding my own business, eating my wrap, when I'm like, what's that? What's that on my book? I think it's a toenail.
Okay, well, if you sit that close to another couple, that's on you.
Where would that come from? And then I see in the distance, because they fly. If you've ever clipped toenails, they fling. They fling like yards.
Well, in the video, she's pulling the toenail and throwing it onto the grass next to them.
Oh,
so maybe you would sit there
I
a bit
thought they were
later.
environmentalists.
Well, I'm sure the toenail will biodegrade into the earth of once it came.
Oh my God. The raccoons and the squirrels, is that what they have in the US?
Yeah, and a lot of other
They don't need that.
Yeah.
I just think that is something you don't ever do in public. Don't even do that in my house. Do that in your bathroom.
Okay, so the world is very much on your side. People are horrified.
Thank
they can't
God.
believe
if they
it happened.
weren't, I'd be very upset.
They think it. Okay, people think it's disgusting. I can't. Don't make me defend Dave Franco's toenails.
I'm not telling you to defend
Well,
him.
I feel like I have to
Why?
now. There's a few caveats to this. Okay, one is that I must say people do think it's potentially a publicity stunt for their new movie Together, which is a horror movie. And
that got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very rare.
Yeah, it's meant to be amazing. The two of them make great movies together, and they often co-write, direct, co-star. He directs her in sex scenes, and they're both like, we don't even, with other people, and they both say, we don't care. These movies are our children. They're our passion projects. We're both all in. So it could be, because they're meant to play like a very codependent couple in the movie. So it could be a publicity stunt. I almost don't think it is, because they've done some other publicity stunts together, like going and making out in front of all the billboards for the movie and then telling fans to go do that and post their photos. This could be like what people think is that they went to the park, they paid the photographer to come video them, and they released the video. But it's a thin line to draw.
It just seems so unlike them.
I don't think it's a publicity stunt. I think that they're in the park having a chill time together because they're in the middle of promoting a movie and that's very stressful. And I think they are so in love. Just remember, this is the couple. I don't know why I know so much about their backstory. They met in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. They were sitting across from each other. They'd never met. And they had a mutual friend. They met at a dinner. They hooked up in New Orleans. They like fell madly in love. He was filming in New York. She went to stay with him for a week, and it was just meant to be a week-long thing. They had this wild time in New York where he was filming, and that was meant to be kind of it. And then she got in a cab and she was going to the airport knowing that he was flying to Paris to film the rest of the movie. And she was kind of like, I don't know when I'll see him again. And then she opened her bag. Inside was a folded up note from him saying, will you come to Paris with me? And so then they went to Paris, and they've been madly in love ever since. That was like 10 years ago. So I think that she's just so madly in love with this man that she loves him, toenails and all. And I don't think it was a pre-planned thing. I think they're sitting there chatting away, having a lovely time in the park. And then she looks down and says, wow, your toenails are really long. And he says, yeah, it hurts every time I put my shoes on. And she's like, oh my God, wait a second. And
which
she
means
goes
he
into her
wasn't
bag.
wearing any shoes, which a man
they
should
took their
never.
shoes off. They took their shoes off next to...
It just makes the story worse.
Can I just say, I don't think it's that bad. They're married. They're in love. She
so
could
do
just
that
toenails
at home.
for...
Don't make me part of it.
I know, but the thing is, no one had to be part of it. If it's not a publicity stunt and someone filmed them, that's on the person who filmed it and everyone who looked at it. Like they could have, we didn't have to, they didn't do it on the red carpet.
But they
and
did it
also,
in a park.
if it's your, I mean,
In
again,
public.
I'm not married. I don't know what married people do. But I always remember when Jason Kelce was photographed out with his songs on and people were zooming in on his feet and saying his feet are disgusting, they're dirty, his toes are disgusting. And everyone really pushed his wife, Kylie Kelce, to like release a statement on the feet.
What?
And she did.
Oh my God.
She did. On her podcast, she was like, guys, those feet are in bed with me every night. I sleep every night with those feet against me. Of course, I don't think they're disgusting. They're my husband's feet. And I think Alison Brie is the same way. And I can't believe I'm the one defending this, but I don't think clipping your partner's toenails is gross. If you said to me, oh my God, I've hurt my back and I can't reach my toenails, and your feet were clean, I'd get you to wipe them first. I would clip your toenails.
That's really romantic.
Isn't it romantic?
That's really
of us?
kind.
I know
yeah.
some people have a foot phobia. I don't. I think it's fine.
I don't have a foot phobia.
Just wipe them first.
I just would like to just read my book in the park quietly.
Okay. Well, just know that next time you're in the park, just be aware Dave Franco's
Avoid
toenails
all
could be
couples.
anywhere. So Netflix, who very famously doesn't really provide a lot of data for their shows, because I think like back in broadcast TV days, you would have each night, I mean, we still do, but just because we watch less free-to-air TV now, they would have the sort of the next day, all the numbers of the most watched shows would be available. But Netflix is a bit different. Sometimes they let us know, most of the time they don't. They obviously have on the splash on the homepage most watched shows, but there's no hard data behind it. So a lot of the time we're just having to rely on our group chats.
It makes me feel a bit like weird because the minute I saw this list, I was immediately like, imagine if Mamma Mia like published all of our page views from each author. Like each of us like have Like this many people read Emily's work versus this many people who read Laura's work. I'll be like, oh my God, I'd hate that.
Well, I know, because some of the like Amy Schumer saw that her movie Kind of Pregnant was like quite far up there on the list, and she was posting that everywhere because she got a lot of shit for that movie being bad. And she was basically like, take that, everyone. And so some creators are having that moment, which I love for them. So they released their data for the most watched TV shows and movies for the first half of 2025, so the first half of this year. And at the top, and I really love this, is Adolescence with 14.8 million views.
Oh, deserved. I feel like that show was the only one that wasn't surprising. What was surprising is that I completely forgot it happened because it was such like a mini series.
Yeah.
And I feel like Netflix, especially alongside other streaming services, are really leaning into the limited series. And I think that's come from a big audience demand. We're tired of waiting 4 years between each season.
Oh, yeah.
Just give us the beginning, give us the end, and then give us something else after.
Well, I love shows that go for multiple seasons, but yeah, I don't want a 3-year gap in between them. I also love because usually we know what's going to be like the biggest show of the month well before the show comes out because, we get that info from Netflix of where they're really putting all their time and money for that release thing, for that release window. And that's why like a little behind the scenes, like we have like these big content plans that I make about each show. Adolescence was something they pretty much just dropped onto the streamer, and a few days later it just blew up. So I think it goes to show that like these little sleeper hits can still exist. Squid Game season 2 is next, followed by Squid Game season 3, both global hits.
Massive.
So yeah, no surprise there. And then 0 Day, the political drama, Missing You, crime drama, lots of those things. The Gabby Petito, the American Murder series, documentary also up there, and Miss Rachel. I think that's one in there for the kids and the mums.
For all those parents who just have it on replay. Those plays the video over and over
that's
again.
so triggering for Olivia Munn. Remember she said just off the cuff, she's like, I don't like Miss Rachel just personally, and then everyone was like,
slammed.
Everyone was like, stone her to death. So that was, and also Sirens in there, the Megan Fahey, Julianne
and she's
Moore
nominated
one.
for that.
Yeah. Again, that feels like one we kind of, I guess that though you have these shows that burn really hot and bright.
Yeah.
For about 2 weeks, which I think is what those things like Sirens do.
Yeah. What I found really interesting is that I feel like sometimes me in particular, I become obsessed with the shows that my friends are obsessed with, and it becomes this bubble. And you forget that that's not necessarily reflective of the data.
Yes.
And what I really liked about this list was that a show that we both loved was like far up the top, which I felt like was very unexpected. It was Running Point, created by Mindy Kaling, starring Kate Hudson. We found that show so fun. It had all the right elements. It had Kate Hudson, had Mindy Kaling, it had basketball, it had Chet Hanks. Yeah. Everything that we wanted.
Everything we personally want in a show.
was in that show. And the thing is that we actually didn't spend that much time talking about it. I mean, it felt like we were the only two people
we did a fair whack on Weekend Watch. We did a whole segment devoted to the rise and lore of Chet Hanks. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like we didn't do a brutally honest review.
We didn't do a brutally honest review because it felt like no one else was actually talking about it and no one else was enjoying it. In fact, I knew a lot of people who didn't like it at all. And I was like, oh no, it's not going to get renewed for another season because it seems like no one's really getting amongst it. And then it got renewed for another season. And now we found out that it actually did really well.
I think it's one of those shows that like I think so many people watched the first episode and didn't love it. And as we said at the time, like we acknowledge this, it's slightly clumsy storytelling in the first episode.
It's a lot of like world building where they have to explain a lot about like basketball.
Yes. And also it's just like, and here's this character and they do this and this character does this and that character. But as we said, Running Point is great. The writing is great. The performances are great. I was engaged till the very, very end. So as people were going, like delving into the list and like the top movies, I also love that the movie Back in Action that Cameron Diaz came out of retirement to do with Jamie Foxx is the top movie.
I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
It's so good. Oh, I love Cameron Diaz in action. That's
it's
all
so good.
she
It
should
also
do.
just kind of feels like the kind of movie that would have been #1 at the box office back in the day when you just like
in the cinema.
In the cinema back in the day when it was two huge stars who we know have a lot of chemistry in a movie together and the plot's kind of fine and the action sequences are fine, but it's more their performance together. And instead now that just drops on Netflix, but it's fine. So if you haven't watched Back in Action, but apparently you all have.
Actually, we know you've all watched Back in Action.
Yeah, me being like, have you guys watched the #1 movie in the world?
Should we do a brutally honest review on Back in Action even though it came out ages ago?
Hey, not a no. No. So as people were delving into the list, looking for their faves, like Running Point, like you were.
Taking a deep breath. Holding the breath.
People came across some information that, frankly, everyone just couldn't wait to clap their hands about gleefully. And that is the fact that Meghan Markle's lifestyle and cooking series, With Love, Meghan.
Yep.
You've got to pause because there's a comma there for the Meghan. Ranked only 383 on the list. So 383 of all the shows that were watched in that period.
This was very surprising to me because we've talked about With Love, Meghan.
Yeah.
Multiple times. Did we do a Brutally Honest review on it?
Yes, obviously we did. When we spent the first 20 minutes on the bees.
Jesus Christ. Yes. We did. The bees and Mindy Kaling.
Yeah, and you guys, I think it's one of our most listened to Brutally Honest reviews.
We have to link that in our show notes in case you haven't, because you clearly haven't watched With Love, Meghan.
Don't worry, guys. We watched every second.
We'll link it in. We watched it the day it came out, like all of the episodes.
I watched it all in one night and then I had to watch it again. Okay, so I think I'm part of these views. Like I helped.
I think you're all 300.
I'm all of these views. So it actually, I should say, as much as everyone's calling it a disaster, it did have 5.3 million views. And anywhere else in the world, for any other streamer, for a lot of countries, that would be the number one through the roof. It's just because Netflix numbers are so huge.
5.3 million views. We get a few million hits on our videos. So I'm like, for me, it was surprising because yes, that is a big number, but in contrast of everything that happened to get that series made, we know it was a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal. So Netflix actually paid her to do this series, and it looks like they got nothing out of that deal essentially because no one watched it.
Yeah, I think that's a thing with Netflix though, in their kind of business plan of what we know it is that they just take a huge volume of stuff and they throw it kind of all at the wall, and they had this idea that they'll release, like every weekend they release a show that's like, you've got to binge it this weekend, and the Meghan Markle show was just the one for them at that time. I mean, the thing is, like, I guess when you, like, I think a lot of people looked at this data and were like, oh, that's so embarrassing for Meghan Markle, and like in a way it is, because it does show that like the star power that a lot of people attach to her doesn't translate over into actually watching the content that she makes. But on the other hand, she kind of has had the last laugh if you look at the overall plan, because they got that huge deal with Netflix, which is already coming to an end this year. Like that was the official end date. The rumors are that Netflix is not renewing it as an official deal with Harry and Meghan, but they will do more of like a first look deal with them for future projects. But at the end of the day, she got paid a bomb to make that show. Her hands are all over it. She got to make the show she wanted and put out into the world. And she got to showcase all the products and things that were going to be in her lifestyle line, which she has now released. And every time she does a drop, sells out. So sorry, that woman's laughing all the way to the bank. Like, has her pride
and she also in the
hit?
deal made 2 seasons that she filmed back to backs, because we saw like the first look of the first season. So I remember you were saying when we were talking about this topic, you were saying she actually won. Like it won't ever look like Netflix canceled the show because it wasn't doing well, because you already signed on 2 seasons.
And she always said it was going to be 2 seasons. So, and now also she's been in the editing booth. Like, she's talking about the fact that she's controlling this new season, which we don't have a release date for yet, but she's getting to make exactly the content she wants. And it can be packaged up as it was only ever meant to be 2. So as much as like I know everyone's trying to pull this story out and make it look like she's this huge failure. And again, obviously it would have been better for her if it was like higher up the list. It's pretty far down, but at the end of the day, she got the money and she got the kickback to her product line. And
it's just her haters, right? Seeing her at the bottom of the list and going, haha.
Yeah, exactly like that.
And then they're just like blocking their ears on everything else that's going on.
Well, exactly. There's so many shows in there, like in the mix, that like have had a huge amount of money behind them that also won in that top 10
and
list.
And it's also highly competitive, right? Like Netflix releases so much content. Like, and if this list is literally Netflix's shows competing with each other. So obviously, there's going to be like shows that you really, really love that are well on the bottom. Not us, so Running Point up there.
I mean, not in the top 10. So obviously that influence doesn't. No offense to us.
We can do a Brutally Honest review and then make it top 10.
Yeah, exactly, for next time. So super interesting to see all the data. And as much as everyone's kind of demonizing Meghan Markle today, I do think she always lands on her feet. I'll say that for the woman.
She's so fine.
She's fine.
Okay. I'm going to start this off with a story.
Oh, okay. Well, just getting comfy? Okay, I'm good.
We're taking it back to 2011.
Oh.
Okay. I am, I think around like 14, 15 years old. I'm at school. I'm ready to go home because I have things to do.
Yeah.
I get home from school. Usually I get home from school and I turn on the TV and I either watch Disney Channel or Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
It's different today.
Ooh.
There's been a switch. I get home and the first thing I do is open my little laptop and watch YouTube.
Wow. And what are you watching on YouTube?
Okay. I have 8 videos to get through from 8 different people. And this is exactly what everyone in my generation during 2011 to around 2014, 15 were doing every day after school, was just watching these YouTubers. Now, these YouTubers are called the Brit Crew. Have you heard of the Brit Crew?
I mean, that name is definitely familiar, but I'm not across their lore or their history or even all the members involved.
Okay, so this is probably like peak YouTube.
Yeah.
Where YouTube turned from something like people making pranks on other people,
Yeah.
people doing skits with other people and you'd show your friends, to more of like a cultural zeitgeist of this is part of my day now. It's like watching my YouTube shows and then I go to bed and do everything else.
Yes.
So it ended up, it became this thing where we swapped watching TV after school to watching YouTube channels after school. And Brit Crew was made up of these 8 kind of like early 20s, some of them were like late teens, these 8 individuals who were all British.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to do something different to all the other YouTubers. Instead of like making skits and doing prank videos and doing these really curated videographer kind of directorial videos, they just started to show their lives and they started making millions of just sharing their personal life.
Yeah.
And they were so ahead of the curve. So you know how now we have beauty influencers who do like makeup reviews and do brand deals. Think about back in the day where there were before any legalities around that and like a YouTuber could sell a mascara and there's no legalities of them having to say this is sponsored, this is SponCon.
Right. They could just
They could
make
just
it
be
look like a
like-
recommendation and then rake in all the money behind the scenes.
And that's exactly what they were doing because like it just didn't
bring that back.
It didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like the governments had to catch up after this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
these
no one saw YouTube as like a legitimate business or like legitimate personalities aside from the fans who are watching it. So no one thought they had to be regulated at the time.
Exactly. And then these guys were just doing it. And these are teenagers making millions of their videos and also getting millions of views. So what was fascinating about this group of Brit Crew guys was that they literally were doing, and I can't even, like, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that, the shittest content.
Okay.
Like the worst content, but it was just so new and fresh and they became these massive celebrities in my head that they were just like all I could talk about, all my friends could talk about. It felt like we were there with them, kind of like how people feel towards podcasters and influencers now. They were like the OGs.
That very intense parasocial relationship. And was it also that like, I know obviously like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel and stuff was super entertaining, but you're watching that, I'm assuming like on the family TV in the living room. It's made by adults and then it's being given to you.
Yeah.
Whereas was there something kind of like, did it make you feel like a bit rebellious that you were going into your room on the computer watching content that was made by another teenager? Like it's cutting out all the middleman and all the parents and everything.
And it felt just more real, whereas like you definitely knew even as a kid that like the Miley Cyrus and the Drake Bells were like still actors and they were still off this level that you couldn't reach, whereas like these YouTubers felt accessible. They felt like my friends. They felt like they knew what was going on in my life, vice versa. Such a cool kid I was. So I want to tell you,
were really cutting edge.
I know.
Maybe we wouldn't have been
I want to
friends.
tell you about the members
Okay.
because what's happened now and why I want to talk about this now is that a 2-part documentary series on the Brit Crew has been released by someone who was kind of in the Brit Crew, but towards the end before they just kind of dissipated. His name is Josh Peters, and he might sound familiar because he did that documentary on that OnlyFans creator who slept with 100 men in a day.
Oh, yes.
So everyone knows him from that, but I knew him from the Brit Crew days. And I was like, Josh, what are you doing here?
You're like, I know you, sir. I know everything about you.
I've seen your bedroom.
Yeah.
So he's on the tail end of the Brit Crew, which is why I think he felt like he couldn't make this documentary because he wasn't fully in it.
Yeah.
And he tried to make it while also still being friends with them and stuff like that. So the Brit Crew, it's made up of, there's a lot of people who are kind of come in and out, but I want to talk about the 8 main ones.
Okay.
So we have Zoe Sugg and Alfie Days.
Okay.
You know
Obviously,
those
I
names.
know who
You
they
know
are.
those
Yeah, I'm not a
names.
monster. I
They're
know
like
who they
the
are.
king and queen of the Brit Crew,
Yeah.
the OGs.
Yeah.
So they're a couple. They didn't start off as a couple. They became a couple. It was like this whole big deal.
Oh my God, I can't even
when it was
imagine.
found out that they were
Yeah.
a couple, because like Jim, who's another member, like accidentally posted a photo of Zoe's laptop which had them kissing on the background, and that's how everyone found out they were a couple.
Oh my God. Content creators today wish that they could create drama like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Speaking of Jim, so he was also in the Brit Crew
Yeah.
with his partner Tanya Burr.
Yeah.
They were like couple friends with Zoe and Alfie. They got married. It was like all over like YouTube, like their whole life journey. They actually got divorced shortly after they got married, which was massive. They had to put massive statements out there. Another couple friend was Marcus Butler and his partner Naomi. They were also together for a long time. They also separated, just same deal, massive.
It's rough out there what fame will do to you.
Rough. We then have Zoe's brother, Joe Sugg.
Oh, yes.
And
yes. Why have I heard of him too? I have.
You would have heard of him because he was on UK's Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, sure.
So now
I don't think that's why. Can't say I've ever watched that show.
He's become a big celebrity now. Like he's on British Bake Off. Like he's doing all the reality stuff now. And his roommate Casper Lee, who was like the biggest YouTuber out of all of them before they created this group.
Right.
So they all started off as like individual YouTubers, and then they realized to grow, you have to also connect with other YouTubers who are bigger than you, make content with them so they can put on their channels, and then you can grow. Kind of like how TikTok influencers do it now. They go across each other's channels.
And I know that there's like lots of little pockets in different countries. Like Australia had that. There was a time when like all these different influencers came together as one big unit to like farm each other's audiences, but they knew that people were more engaged in seeing them together. And I think that's what all those TikTok content houses are now, right? Like they're a more formalized version of that. And I know those do really good numbers, but I feel like it doesn't, because people know that you come into their house and you like book your room and you spend the whole time doing content. Like it feels too sanitized to go back and recreate these kids doing it by themselves.
Exactly. And they also didn't realize how big they were. So in the documentary, Josh Peters tries and interviews all the members because he wants to get down to like, how did the Brit Crew become this massive thing, doing like these massive events, kind of like Comic-Con, that like level of events they would do. And all they would do was literally just say hi to people on stage. Yeah. Because everything else they did was like in their bedroom on a YouTube channel. Like, how do you convert that into real life? So doing these like massive events, like gaining these millions and millions of views, they would literally walk down the street and the street would literally have to have police to block it because people would just be following them.
That is just wild
like
to think of now, right?
Yeah. And now they are much better because now they're like full-blown adults in their 30s. They're like much more better at being private. A lot of them still post on YouTube. A lot of them have moved to different countries and are doing something completely different and are completely offline. But what Josh wanted to do was like see how the Brit Crew transformed and also what happened to them, because all of a sudden they just kind of dissipated, the whole crew. And it happened during a time where I stopped watching because I obviously grew up. I started watching different things, and then I tapped back in recently because I was like, oh my God, I didn't know these guys are still making videos.
What is one of my friends up to?
Zoe and Alfie have 2 kids.
Yeah, isn't one of them called Ottilie? And that was a huge scandal when it happened. That's just a beautiful name that's been around for centuries.
They call her Ottie for short. And the other one is Novi.
Okay, sorry, those are actually the greatest
they're
names
beautiful
ever.
names.
I'll
and they're
defend
such
that to the death.
Cute girls. It's like one of those like families where you're like, oh, that's what I want.
Oh,
and they're in their $1 million mansion that they would have made the money on from when they were 19 years old.
Yeah, and are just now kind of set forever because of all the fame and the wealth that they've accrued and managed to hold on to.
All of them
slightly questionable how much they film their kids, but I
actually do think they're pulling back on that because I've noticed in recent photos Zoe's posting, she hasn't been posting her older girl's face, Ottie's face.
Yeah, well, I guess it's like, again, because they're the pioneers in that space, they would have just been like, well, we share our lives and all these people love us. Why wouldn't we show our kids? Because they're with us all the time and they're the biggest part of our life. So I get that. But I guess as time goes on, people are becoming more aware of how dangerous that is and they're starting to pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of hard when you're on the front lines. Like you're the first one doing a lot of this stuff.
What I noticed when I started rewatching them again was that the tone has shifted, right? Because every second video, it'd be like the crew together or like one person from the crew with Zoe and Alfie, or Zoe and Alfie going to like Marcus's house, Jim and Marcus and Alfie doing stuff together. Yeah. And they're very much siloed. And it seems like that they not only aren't friends anymore, but they just completely acknowledge that whole period of their life. So Josh wanted to investigate what happened during that by interviewing people. What was really interesting was that he included screenshots of messages he was sending Zoe and Alfie to see if they would be interviewed, and they just
Wow.
never replied to him.
That's incredible access for us to kind of see
Crazy.
that. But I guess he also wanted to show that he was trying to include them.
Yeah, and he was like, I just want to hear your guys' side of the story. It's hard to tell who Alfie and Zoe are still friends with,
Right.
but this whole thing, the one question that everyone wants to know, and you're going to laugh at this because
Okay.
they've taken it so seriously. So I want to talk about Jim and Tanya Burr, who
Yeah.
the ones who were married and then got divorced quickly after.
Yeah. How long were they married? Just a few months.
I reckon it was like under a year.
Yeah.
So,
Which
and they
is
have
so
to put
scandalous when
statements
you've got
out.
that-
yeah.
that
And they
high
both
level.
have new partners and they both have kids with their new partners.
Okay.
So it seems very weird because for me, it's like mum and dad have divorced and now they have kids and now
Yeah.
they don't acknowledge each other at all.
Aw.
When they were together, they had a dachshund named Martha.
Okay. Why is that already funny?
They had a dachshund named Martha. They got divorced.
Yeah.
They put the statement out. Since then, Martha has not been seen.
Oh my God, Martha is a casualty of the breakup.
Every single comment on all of Tanya Burr's post is where is Martha, to the point where people think she's gone in her back end and automatically blocks words that say dachshund, Martha, dog.
But like surely one of them took the dog? Or do you think it was too painful they had to
We
give
think
her away?
Tanya Burr took the dog. I'm not even joking when I say this. There was a hashtag that was trending for like a year and it was hashtag where's the hound.
No, but seriously.
Where's the hound? So Tanya actually declined to be interviewed by Josh. She said it was not in the right.
Because Martha's body's like in the backyard somewhere.
There were some really awful rumors around
Yeah.
like what happened with Tanya Burr, which I really feel for her because I really loved her. I really loved her content. What she did was she moved away from YouTube completely and wanted to take on acting. She kind of had a Meghan Markle edit where people were just finding videos of her acting in plays and stuff and going, how shit is this?
Yeah.
Like she cheated on Jim. It's so obvious. Like making up really awful rumors. And one of the big ones was like, where the hell is Martha?
Where's Martha?
Josh did manage to get an interview with Jim.
Okay.
And he was like, where's Martha? Like the first time he's
like, tell me where she is.
The first time he's been asked a question. And Jim was like, it's become this big thing. And he said, and this really annoyed me about Jim, he was like, I feel like I can't say because it's not my story to tell because I wasn't in the decision-making process.
Okay, well, it's obviously not Martha's story to tell because
But
one, she can't speak, and two, I hate to say it, I think she's dead.
He did say she is fine.
Sorry, I don't believe that.
He says-
I want a picture with I want Martha holding up a newspaper with a date on to prove that it's a recent picture. And I don't want her to look like she's under duress holding it.
Well, so we actually don't. He said, I promise you she's fine.
That means nothing to me.
It just wasn't my decision of what happened to it. And I'm like, Jim, you're making it worse.
Making it so much worse. Can I just say, I don't think famous people should ever introduce their pets to the world. It never ends well. The Kardashians have had to do so many cover stories because they bring these pets in and they put them all over their cameras and they obviously decide they hate them or they die. And then they have to come up with these cover stories of like, oh, Mercy went to live with a friend. Mercy hasn't been seen again. And also Meghan Markle too. She had to leave one of her dogs in Canada when she moved to the UK. That was a huge story. It's just, yeah.
I think if
not
they
great
said
for
something
them.
like Martha's on a farm or Martha's being
Sorry, that also sounds like Martha's dead.
but like say something. They've literally not said anything. They
Yeah.
refused to mention Martha at all.
Guys, I think Martha is gone from this mortal coil.
It's
She's
become
not
this
here
whole
anymore.
thing. He also interviewed Naomi and Marcus, who had
What
separated.
did they say about Martha?
They haven't said anything about Martha.
They didn't
Martha,
speak
the
on that.
storyline of Martha is, unfortunately, I feel like
That's
ended.
literally all I care about.
Has
This
unfortunately
whole
ended.
documentary.
But Naomi was talking about how she came into the friend group like a bit late, and then Zoe and Alfie helped her start a YouTube channel. And then after she broke up with Marcus, she also like had to break up with her friends. And she was like, we were family. We were best
Yeah.
friends. Me, Tanya, and Zoe were like family. And she was crying. And I was like, this actually would have, because they would have been like in their early 20s, like kind of like forming years. And yet
Yeah.
they're like so big and so professional, and they also were all signed to the same PR agency before
Yeah.
PR agencies were even a thing. Like they were getting these massive deals and they were essentially kids, and this is all blown up into like what the hell happened.
Yeah.
And what really sucks is that Zoe and Alfie didn't do an interview, which I feel like would have made them come across so much better if they did, regardless of not saying anything. So Joe Sugg, Zoe's brother, was meant to be interviewed in the second part. And before was meant to be interviewed in the second part. He was in all the promo and stuff. And then during watching the second part, which was only released a few days ago, Josh said that he recalled his interview.
Oh, okay. So
he said that after watching the first part of the documentary series, he felt like what he said in his interview was just untrue to what the image he wanted to put out there.
Interesting. Because normally also once you give an interview, like that's it. Yeah. If you've said it on the record, it's on the record.
Yeah. So he definitely has footage of this interview and he just hasn't posted it because Josh is still friends with all of them.
Yeah. Well, again, it must. I feel like he definitely could have because he would have had a release sign to film it and all that sort of stuff. So that's the thing. You can't normally recall an interview unless you have a personal connection to the person. You want to maintain that relationship, or there was something big happening behind the scenes. That like legalities could have been involved. Yeah. But that's huge to have the footage and not air it.
Yeah. I just felt like after watching this documentary, I didn't know what I wanted out of it.
Did you, as like an old school OG fan, did you feel kind of some sort of closure watching it? Did it help you out?
I felt quite sad actually because I thought it was just going to be like the rumors that were spiraling on why they all kind of broke up and dissipated. I thought there was going to be like heated. I thought people would have stuff to say about each other, but it just ended up being so wholesome of them just being so nostalgic and reminiscing on the past, but it was very definitive, as if like I'm so glad this happened to me, but I'll never go back there again. And it just felt like, oh no, these friendships have truly ended and they've all just moved on, which so many people do. We just don't put our lives out there like the same way they have, and it just made me feel really sad. They're like, oh no, we probably will never get a reunion. Like it will just
no, that's not on the cards.
It's not on the cards. And because of like I feel like how public their lives have been and how crazy they've been, they've become so private now that their content type has also changed. Like Zoe and Alfie are so careful about what they put out there, and a lot of the YouTube videos they now publish are because they're getting paid to do it. Like they all have ad in the title.
Yes.
And it's still good content, but it's not like the content that we used to get. And I feel like we're now in an era where like the younger generation will never see that like raw side of influencers. Like it's just not the same on TikTok. It's just, it was like a whole long form, like watching hour-long YouTube videos of someone just going through their day. Like that whole like slow type of media influencer world is just gone now.
Yeah, exactly. Now everyone has to get like, you have to grab people in the TikTok feed, get them really in. That's why everyone is like a scandalous take or a big take, and you wouldn't have that slow organic build anymore, which is really sad because sometimes I also just want to have a little window into people's lives. Like I also miss so many people I followed on Instagram who would just do like 50 stories a day and take you through their life. And now that like if they
maybe
pop up
we
one
should
little,
do that.
I mean, look, I love
it would just
watching
be you
that.
and me watching each other's videos.
I think people would watch that. I just obviously don't. I'm just not going to commit to that at this time. But if someone else wants to follow me around and post my life, please do. A lot of stuff happens every day. Well, that was super interesting.
Hashtag where's the hound? Still don't know.
R.I.P. Martha. If anyone has seen Martha, if anyone knows anything about her,
please email us. So you can DM us at the Spill Podcast. We'd love any evidence of Martha.
Yeah, and just justice. I just think we need to say her name and get some justice for her, because
lest we forget Martha.
Who I didn't know existed until this moment, but I'm all in on now. And so where can people watch this documentary?
You can watch it on YouTube on Josh Peters' channel. We'll put a link. Yeah, it's on YouTube. We'll put a link. It's already gained like millions and millions of views. It's just so juicy. So if you want to know the law, that's the law of the Brit Crew.